Alright everybody, so today we're talking about sunscreens. We're talking about how most sunscreens are toxic. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but it is true. As I have recently learned, over the last couple of years I have been getting more into using sunscreen because I was just trying to be more responsible for my skin's sake, for my sake. And I started learning recently that, you know, most sunscreens, like a lot of the foods we eat, like a lot of other things, well, the first things we see, the stuff that's at the front of the shelf, the stuff that's kind of the front line mainstream stuff, just like a lot of the other stuff, is pretty low quality, and sunscreen is no different. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today and stuff to look out for, basically how you can just be more responsible. So, and I've got the article on it here, which will be in the description below this video, so check that out afterwards. It will be, I'm sure, in more depth than this video because I just won't remember all the points or get to all of them. So the thing with sunscreen is it's becoming more and more necessary for people to wear because sun exposure is just becoming more of a pertinent issue for people. There are, there's just more threats to our skin's well-being and our well-being as time goes on. So you should be a little more responsible as you get older. So what some of the things the sun can do is, a lot of sun exposure can give us dry skin, or if you're like me, drier. It dries out your skin. It can give you, what else did I have here? It can give you, in worst case scenario, it can lead to skin cancer. It can age your skin. It's basically beyond tanning, which sure a lot of us want to do. I want to get a little bit darker during the summer months, but I'm also careful, and I know that it's better to be safe than sorry. This is definitely one of those things where you'd rather not overdo it. So basically what happens is the sun gives off what is called UV radiation, and there's a few different types, two of which, UVA and UVB, will, they can just really damage your skin. And I'm just trying to refer back to what I have here. Yeah, basically like the things that I just listed. It can dry out your skin, it can really age your skin, and it can give you skin cancer. That stuff is all becoming more and more common. And still you see people that go to the beach and they kind of just don't care. They know they're going to get sunburnt that day and they're fine with it because they think it'll turn into a tan. Well, to each their own, but I would tell you to be a little bit more responsible than that. So anyway, the point is to be careful. I talk about in the article how, I went to my esthetician, who is basically just someone who can help you take better care of your skin. And what she was telling me is that you should be wearing sunscreen every day. And I was like, seriously every day? And she's like, literally every day. Like not sunny days, not warm days, all of them. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I mean, you don't have to convince me to wear it on like a sunny day, but if it's cloudy, rainy, cold, I'm still not at the point where I'm going to wear it. That's just me. Maybe one day I'll get there, but, I'm not quite there yet. Still sounds extreme to me, but hey, that's how you be responsible. I don't doubt what she says. I just basically need to see it for myself. So anyway, we're going to get into some of the ingredients of the sunscreens now because basically I've laid out, the things that you don't want. We kind of know what happens anyway. I mean, it's not like a terrible surprise. The point is that these things can lead to skin cancer over time with the UV radiation, and while that's not taken too seriously by a lot of people, it should be. And just for your skin's sake, if you're someone who's even moderately interested in skincare, this is something to look out for because the skin every day, or the sun every day, is doing damage to your skin whether you know it or not. So something to look out for. Anyway, so some of these ingredients which typically with the retail sunscreens, what they use are called photo stabilizers, and what those things do is they basically absorb the UV radiation, but the problem with those is that they are toxic compounds in themselves, and you not only put them on your skin, but they absorb into your skin. So it's usually at pretty low rates. I believe oxybenzone usually comes in at like 8 to 9% of it gets absorbed into your skin, which doesn't sound like very much, but you know what? If you're wearing it, if it's the summertime and you're wearing it somewhat often, you really don't want that, because then you basically need to be going home and scrubbing the stuff off your skin every time. And I don't know about you, but I'm not showering every day, scrubbing my skin every day. I mean, it's I think it's too much to ask at a certain point. So basically what you should do to combat that is just be smarter about what you buy, and we'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, first one is called oxybenzone. That is probably the worst photostabilizer from what I've seen. Problem with it is, yes, it absorbs into the skin, too much of it does, and it will disrupt endocrine function. You know, there's some like more scientific jargon that goes into this. I would encourage you to do your own research, because I really only did some surface level stuff, but it's enough for me to act. So anyway, what it's known for, it disrupts endocrine function, like I said, because it mimics estrogen in the body. This is a increasingly common problem with today's consumer products, and you'll see me talk about it in the article for a minute, which is why I'm looking. We have a lot of estrogen mimicking compounds in our consumer products today, and you know, this is not good for our hormone function, because we basically have things entering our body that are mimicking hormones in our body, and that changes our body's idea of what is going on. So it basically makes it think that it has more estrogen than, you know, we actually do, because we have these compounds that are mimicking it, and they are not truly estrogen. So it's also noteworthy, I found, that this can happen in both sexes. So, you know, a man should not be less concerned than a woman, and vice versa. Everyone should be concerned. And yeah, the point being that it does absorb into the skin. So this basically will happen. This will happen to some extent if you use an oxybenzone product. So basically, we want to steer clear. So, two of the other ones are called homosalate and octinoxate. So those two are pretty similar to oxybenzone in the sense that they absorb into the skin. It's not quite as much, though. I would say, I think from what I read, it was like 5 to 6% of it will typically absorb into the skin when you're using that type of product. So yes, not as bad, but it has the same kind of effects, which again we don't want. So quickly getting into this one, the next one is avobenzone. This is like the newer, I don't even know what to call it, but like the trendier one basically for the industry to use, because they think it's safer than the 3 previous ones that I named. However, it's basically just showing the same signs as the other ones, maybe to a slightly lesser degree, but it's basically looking like it's still going to be an issue. It's a photostabilizer after all. It will absorb into your skin. That's ultimately what the issue is. Yes, these compounds are toxic. You don't want them at all. However, if they were able to sit on the skin and maybe not absorb, maybe this wouldn't even be that worth talking about. But the issue is that they do absorb into the skin, and we do not want that. So, what are you supposed to do otherwise then? You are supposed to use mineral sunscreens instead. This may be a surprise to some of you, maybe not to the rest of you, but these are things that are sold in stores. They're widely available. I do believe they're a little bit more expensive, but you know, what is your health worth? If you ask me, your health is worth a lot more than your money can buy, basically. The way I look at it is you can pay for it now or you can pay for it later. So I choose to pay for it now, and hopefully it saves me later on some things. So anyway, mineral sunscreen, why is it better? You put it on, all that it does is it reflects UV radiation. So photostabilizers, chemical sunscreens, they absorb it. Mineral sunscreens reflect it away, so nothing gets absorbed, and the compounds in it, which are typically zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, sounds intimidating, but they're a lot safer, they don't absorb into your skin. So basically, that is what you're looking for. You know, you put it on your skin, and you can usually tell because it doesn't. You usually put it on your skin, and you will see a slight white tint. You know, as long as you don't overdo it, you won't see like a white film on your arm. But yeah, if you put a lot on, you will notice like, okay, there is a little white tint. Like I could see it's not absorbing into my skin. That's a good thing. So yeah, for those reasons, it's better. There's really not much more to say about it. It just doesn't absorb and it reflects the UV radiation. Really, all we can ask for when we're putting on a sunscreen. So I recommend, just to finish up this video, I recommend a few different sunscreens in the article, which again, check it out in the description below the video. But I think people get a little bit like, oh man, like most sunscreens, really? You think like most of them? That's a pretty bold claim. And I kind of just wanted to make the point. You can see I've got 6 laid out here. Some good, some bad. I've got 6 laid out here. These are all like pretty common brands. In fact, all bought at like different places and times too, so I think it's pretty well represented. That a lot of these are not great. I don't have an exact number, but basically if you don't see some sort of advertisement for like mineral on the front, or if it doesn't say zinc oxide on the front, that's not a good sign. And sometimes even when it says zinc oxide formula, it will still have, these troublesome ingredients in there. So you gotta just flip it around, just take a look at the active ingredients. That's pretty much all you need to be looking at when we're talking about this type of stuff. So really quickly, Aveeno Baby here, it's a baby product. They're typically better with little kid products. I was surprised to look at this one and see that it's all zinc oxide for the active ingredient, 21.6%. So that's solid. I'd recommend anyone to use that. This one, which was bought in Mexico, so it's all written in Spanish, but I looked at it ahead of time. It's Hawaiian Tropic, by the way, though, which is sold everywhere. So it says homosalate as the second ingredient after water. I mean, that's not good. There's no percentages here, but presumably that means it is a large percentage homosalate. To be honest, the rest I can't really read, but I do see words that look similar to oxybenzone.